Hello, this is BBC World News. I'm Ben Bland. The latest headlines. Israel has launched airstrikes targeting Hamas weapons factories and arms dumps in Gaza in retaliation for Palestinian rockets fired at southern Israel. Britain's Foreign Secretary is making his first visit to Iran to press for the release of detained dual nationals and has raised the issue of British-Iranian woman Nazanin Zaghari-Ratcliffe. Well, let's return to our main story. Violence has intensified between Israel and Gaza after President Trump recognised Jerusalem as Israel's capital. With me here in the studio is James Rogers, who spent a lot of time in Gaza as a correspondent, has written 2 books on the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Good to have you with us, James. What do you make, firstly, of the Palestinian response? Is this what anyone would have expected, given the declaration that President Trump made?
So far, yes, I think so. And we would all have expected this sort of expression of outrage, of extreme anger. We would have expected street demonstrations and indeed the military response which armed groups have offered from the Gaza Strip. From here, I think it's a little difficult to see how this goes. I mean, my sense during my last visit to the West Bank was that while the rage is there and while the symbolism of this is colossal, because while Palestinians haven't always liked the United States' support for Israel, they've always looked to them as the kind of partner who could one day steer Israel towards peace, and I think that's taken that away. And I think when you look back at the last major uprising, the Intifada, which began in 2000, that went on for years. There were a lot of deaths on both sides, more Palestinian than Israeli. And I think that despite that, that did not deliver statehood, it did not deliver security or prosperity for the Palestinians. So I think there'll be questions about whether pursuing a similar line on a larger scale would really deliver.
One of the things we've heard quite a lot in the last few days since President Trump's declaration is that the US can no longer be considered a neutral arbiter in the peace process. There will, however, be many people on the Palestinian side who feel the US was never neutral.
I think that's the generally held view on the Palestinian side, very much so. But I think there was this sense that it did have a degree of influence over Israel. There was a realistic acceptance that however this conflict was going to come to an end, if it was going to come to an end, the United States would have to play a leading role in that. And the symbolism of this declaration makes it much, much harder, because Jerusalem is one of the issues which has defied many, many, many rounds of diplomatic negotiations. And the United States has, in effect, simply taken a unilateral decision over that now.
I just wonder what your thoughts are on what can be done now to sort of mitigate the effect, the violence that's spiked as a result of this declaration, because the Palestinians regard the US as unable to have a positive effect. Israel regards the UN as being anti-Israeli. So what can be done now to either calm things down or longer term try and get peace talks back on course?
I think it's very difficult to see a resumption of the peace process at this stage. I mean, the last time that was tried seriously by the former US Secretary of State, John Kerry, almost 4 years ago now, that ended in failure. And there's been it's been talked about possibly that Jared Kushner might be leading some initiatives like this, that this may, Mr. Trump's statement may be some form of an attempt to relaunch the peace process. But I think it's very, very difficult to see that proceeding from here.
OK, James, it's really good to get your thoughts. Thanks very much, James Rogers there.